Vikramatne straight through the middle, and Kushani Dunil will run in unchallenged. Kushani Dunil, wonderful work again from Gahan Vikramatne, slicing open the Royal College defence. And he could have picked any one of three players to go under the post, but he thought he...
Hi guys, good evening everyone. Welcome to Sports Talk with Knockout. Every time you talk about one particular school, that schools remind you of a sport which have brought them so much of glory for the last few decades, I would say. That school is, today I'm going to talk about Isipathana College. And Isipathana College and rugby has an amazing story. They were called as kings of rugby as well. So I would like to welcome my guest today. He's a former Isipathanian and he's a sports journalist and a commentator. And he's there in the Isipathana Rugby Committee as well. Welcome, Hisham. Welcome on the show.
Hi, Akil. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on board.
How are you doing? How is these days?
Doing good. Staying at home. Everything big time with the family now, rather than we had earlier because of COVID. So just enjoying time, taking each day as it goes.
Exactly. Let's get into our subject, Isipathana Rugby. Let's start with a little bit of history. Take us through the history of Isipathana Rugby. Initially, when did rugby kick off in Isipathana and the early days of Isipathana Rugby?
Isipathana Rugby, you could say, started in the 1960 to be precise. And out of all these elite schools in the division, I think Isipathana was the last school out of the A division schools to take up rugby. If you take Royal, St. Peter's, even Zahira, Kings, Trinity, all of them have a huge rugby history alone. So Isipathana started off in the 1960s. And I think the president of the Havelock Sports Club, then Mr. Maurice de Abreu, he was, inspirational in bringing rugby into Isipathana. And at that time, they had a player, and his son, Randy Keller, was studying at Isipathana College, formerly known as Greenlands College. So this story transpired, and through history and through stories, we hear that Randy used to carry a rugby ball to school all the time. And at that time, it was something new for him and his friends. And then the principal, Mr. H.T. De Silva, and there was a teacher named Mrs. Geddes, who was the wife of former Trinity Lion, Harry Geddes. So they saw this young boy's enthusiasm, and they decided why not give them the support and help them, come up with a team. And so in 1960, Isipathana had their first ever rugby team. It was at under 17 level, and they started playing friendly games. And a lot of personalities in the Havelock Sports Club within their ranks helped Isipathana. They organized friendly games. I remember, because I was not there at that time, but I've seen stories where St. Peter's, Wesley organized and helped Isipathana with playing friendly matches at under 17 level at that time. And then in 1963, Isipathana's dream came true in the sport, you could say so. That is when they had their first under 19 team. And it was captained by Randy Keller. And also it was coached by, I just got the name here. In 1963, actually, they had their first team. It was captained by Brian Ingram. I was coached by Mr. Y.C. Chang. And they played their first ever game in against St. Anthony's Karugostora, and this is where everything started, because you don't usually expect a team who just started, who were just playing their first ever under 19 game to win, but they did win against St. Anthony's. It was 8 points to 3 at that time, and Dayalu Pereira had the honor of scoring the first ever try for Isipathana, and this is where the story started. In 1965, they were officially recognized, and they were also a member of the Sri Lanka Schools Rugby Football Union, and this team was captained by Anna Sarnapala. And from there onwards, Isipathana never looked back, and they have step by step, they have achieved everything what they have achieved so far. I mean, 1963 and 1965 were the stepping stones for Isipathana Rugby, and then Isipathana Rugby even went on to have a 4-year unbeaten run from 1968 to 1971. And then from there onwards, the list goes on and on and on. And to be honest, in my personal opinion, as per the history books, as per the records, the 80s and the 90s were the peak of Isipathana Rugby. I mean, no school would want to play Isipathana because you know the result even before you step into a game. The results, the titles, all what they have achieved were during this season. And I should mention the story of one of our legendary coaches, Mr. O.W.R. Pereira and Mr. Maxwell Dyers. In a footballing context, if you say so, it was like Sir Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger put together. They coached Isipathana for like 10 years, and this was the transformation of Isipathana Rugby, the way they played, how they approached their playing style, which they still keep on believing in that playing style. They have not changed, and the results kept following whatever practice they put into. So that was just the late or the early history, you could say so. From there onwards, achieving titles, producing national players, it's all been logged into the history books, you could say so.
And it's pretty good to know the history as well. As neutral fans, we always love to see Isipathana playing. So that was good to see a bit of history, and I think our viewers were entitled by your history as well. And how has Isipathana Rugby evolved since then and now, Hisham?
Well, I think, like I said, so I mean, you would say now if you take schools rugby, I mean, most schools have their own playing pattern. But I think what is something unique to Isipathana is how they have stick to their brand of rugby, that is run and pass. It's free-flowing rugby, and that's what everyone likes to see. I mean, Isipathana always had a disadvantage. They didn't have the physicality, you could say so, to always compete with teams which had bigger made players. But they made up for this by running with the ball, passing the ball, and they always had speed and the flair, the passion. And that kind of traits is the unique brand which Isipathana carries out to this day. I mean, from yesteryear to right now, you would expect Isipathana to always run with the ball, and that is something Isipathana has managed to trademark itself and prides itself with the brand of rugby they play.
And also, let's not forget the current Sri Lankan captain is from Isipathana as well, Amalka Gunratna.
Yes, exactly.
Video...
I mean,
yeah, Hisham, go on.
Yes, so since you just touched base with Omarko Gunratna, I should mention him as well. I mean, we've heard about stories like how like the players like MPF Saleh, legendary players Hisham Abdin have played. I mean, those days, I mean, social media and the television technology was not so developed for us to have video clips of them. But Omarko Gunratna, you could say so, people who witnessed these legends playing compare him to Hisham Abdin and the legendary players before him. I mean, he's also a wonderful player, showed great leadership qualities. He's maturing. He's also, I think, the youngest ever captain or the person to captain the Sri Lanka first 15, the 15s team as well. So that just shows how much faith the selectors have put in him and what qualities he has to lead that team.
Exactly. And there's a small video to be played regarding the history of Isipathana Rugby. That is done by Hisham. So we'll play it right now, and Akib will help me to play that video.
I'll be the last one standing, 2 hands in the air, I'm a champion. You'll be looking up at me when it's over. I live for the battle, I'm a soldier. Yeah, I'm a fighter like Rocky. Put your flag on your back like Ali. Yeah, I'm the greatest, I'm stronger. Bet my dues, can't lose, I'ma own ya. Hey, I've been working my whole life, and now it's do or die. I am invincible, unbreakable, unstoppable. bets on me. Hey, I've been waiting my whole life to see my name in lights. I am invincible, unbreakable, unstoppable, unshakable. They knock me down, I get up again. I am the champion. You don't know my name, you can't hurt me now. I can't feel the pain. I was made for this, yeah, I was born to win. I am the
Born champion. The C is for the courage I possess through the drama. H is for the hurt, but it's all for the honor. A is for my attitude, working through the patience. Money comes and goes, the M is for motivation. Gotta stay consistent, the P is to persevere. The I is for integrity, innovative career. The O is optimistic, open and never shut. And the N is necessary, cause I'm never giving up. See, they ask me how I did it, I just did it from the heart. Crushing the competition, been doing it from the start. They say that every champion is all about his principles. Carry.
I am invincible, unbreakable, unstoppable, unshakable. They knock me down, I get up again. I am the champion. You don't know my name, you can't hurt me now. I can't feel the pain. I was made for this, yeah, I was born to win. I am the champion.
Yeah. Surpassed all rivals. It's all about who wants it the most. Fight for what we believe in. That's what champions are made of. They say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name, but they ain't got what's running through these veins. Say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name, but they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king. Wait for the kingdom, king me, checkmate then repeat. This chess not checkers, what can I say? I got goat genes. Real kings do king things. Live like one, breathe like one, killing shit by any means. Everybody can't lead like one, nah. Is it really me? Gotta check and see my legacy like royalty, and I act like it. If you know, better act like it. Look at me now, they can't hold me down. So give me the crown. They say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name, but they ain't got what's running through these veins. Say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing.
Thank you. Thanks for watching for everyone, and thanks for the Papre.com for the footages as well on bringing out some very good moments of Isipathana Rugby. Hisha, my next question is, what do you think is the key for success for Isipathana Rugby? How do you all produce a good team? How are you consistently producing a good team every season?
Well, I think there are several factors that contribute towards it. I think the main factor is the tradition, which has already been set by the previous old boys or the legends, you could say so. Because when you play for Isipathana, there is a expectation where you need to match the standard where you need to achieve. You're not going in for a tournament just to participate. When you wear that green jersey, the expectation is you reach the finals and you bring the trophy back home. And I think this is the mentality or the standard that is being inculcated on the young minds since under 13, under 14, and then when you play for first 15, when you wear that green jersey, there is a huge amount of responsibility when you get that jersey, because all those players, just 22, get the opportunity to wear that. I think the expectation win is one factor, and like I said, the history. So many success has been achieved before that you want to be a part of your own success story to be written into the history books. The dedication of the players, that's a must. Uh, you have to go through a lot, the practice sessions, the demand, because like I said, there are some certain aspects in the game that you know that you're going to be up against it. Sometimes, in most cases, if you take an Isipathana side, you're going to face teams that are much bigger than you, probably stronger than you. So you need to negate those issues by being smart, by being tactful, using your own strengths and countering those weaknesses, to say so. So passion, commitment to the sport, dedication. There's a lot of factors, and of course, then again, you should also not forget when I speak about passion, the commitment of the old boys, because I mean there are several sports you could follow at Isipathana. Cricket, football, yes, but when it comes to rugby, I think that sport gives an Isipathana in his identity. I mean, you walk into any corporate, I mean, even if you say, so where did you study? I said at Isipathana, the first thing they're going to ask you is, did you play first 15 rugby or did you play rugby? I mean, that's the kind of prestige and the history that name, the brand carries out. So all of this, I think, contributes and, plays a part for Isipathana being successful.
Exactly. And my last question in singer from you. ඔයගොල්ලන් ඉස්කෝලේ දැන් ඉසිපතන රග්බි ෆේස් කරපු challenges මොනවද හිෂාම් මේ වගේ කාලේ?
මම හිතන්නේ හැමතිස්සම අපිට තියෙන ලොකුම challenge එක තමයි අනිත් පාසල් සමග සංසන්දනය කරනකොට අපිට කියලා ground එකක් නැහැ. ඉස්කෝලේ ground එකක් තියෙනවා නැතුව නෙවෙයි. but ගොඩක් කට්ටිය ඒක කියනවා අපි ground එකක් නැහැ කිව්වම ඒ ground එකේ මොනවද කරන්න කියලා අහනවා. but එහෙම බැලුවා නම් මුළු ඉස්කෝලේටම තියෙන ඒ ground එක විතරයි. ළමයිට සෙල්ලම් කරන්න, එතකොට practices වලට ගත්තොත් අපි ඒක practice කරන්න අපි all boysලා සමහරට උදව් කරනවා ඒ ground එක නිතරම ඒක මේ maintain කරන්න හදන්න. but ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ ground එකක් එහෙම හදලා හැමතිස්සෙම මේ practice කරනකොට ඒ ground එක මේ හරි මට්ටමකට තියාගන්න බෑ. මේ ඉතින් ground එකක් නැති එක තමයි මම දකින ලොකුම බාධකය. මොකද මම රග්බි කමිටියේ ඉද්දිත් සමහර විට coachesලා plan කරන ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ sessions ටික හදිස්සියෙම අපිට කියනවා අපි practice කරන්න Havelock Sports Club ground එකේ සතියකට 3 පාරක් අපිට හම්බ වෙනවා ground එක. but ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපිට හම්බ වෙන්නේ සතියකට 2 පාරයි. එතකොට coachට plan කරන්න අමාරුයි. මොකද එයා සමහරට සිකුරාදා session එකක් දාපුවොත් සිකුරාදා ground එක නැති වුණාම එයාට යන්න තැනක් නැහැ. ඒ practice session එක මෙතනින් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට change කරනවා. තව ඒ යන schedule එකත් එක්ක බැලුවම එක session එකක් miss වුණා කියන්නේ ඒක මාර පාඩුවක්. ඒ session එක ඇත්තටම ඒ coachesලා දන්නවා එක session එකක් miss වුණාම ඒක recover කරන්න මේ මාර අමාරුයි. ground එකක් නැති එක තමයි මම දකින ලොකුම බාධාවක් කියලා මම දකින ලොකුම challenge අභියෝගයක් කියලා මම දකින්නේ. මොකද ඒ ground එකක් නැහැ කිව්වම අපිට line angle practice කරන්න අමාරුයි. touch kicks, place kicks මේවා practice කරන්න ඒ දවස්වල අපේ all boysලා practice කරේ ඇත්තටම ඉස්කෝලේ මොන හරි එක ගහක් නැත්තම් අපේ ඉස්කෝලේ යන කාලේ ඇත්තටම වතුර ටැංකියක් තිබ්බා. ඒතනට kick කරලා තමයි මේ place kick practice කරන්නේ. මොකද හැමතිස්සෙම ground එකක් නැති හින්දා. තව මේ line kicks උනත් එහෙමයි. ඉතින් junior players ලටත් ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක්. මොකද first 15 team එකයි under 16 හරි මොන හරි එක team එකක් අපේ first 15 squad එකත් ඇත්තටම ලොකුයි. season එක පටන් ගද්දි ළමයි 80ක් 90ක් විතර ඉන්නවා first 15 squad එකේ විතරක්. මේ ඒතොර ඒ team එකත් එක්ක තව එක team එකක් මම හිතන්නේ දැම්මොත් ඇති අපිට ground එකක් එහෙම් පිටින්ම ඒ ground එක fill වෙනවා. ඉතින් එතනින් එහාට අපිට ground එක ගැන කතා කරන්න බෑ. එතකොට ඒක ඇත්තටම උදේ ඉඳන් junior rugby වලට එනකම්ම අපිට ලොකු effect එකක්. ground එකක් නැති එක එකක්. අනිත් තමයි ඒක මම මෙතන වැරදි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද මම කියනවා පාසල් එක්ක සංසන්දනය කරනකොට අපේ තියෙන facilities ඇත්තටම අඩුයි. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ gym facility එක ගත්තනම් එහෙම නැත්නම් nourishment එකෙන් ගත්තනම් අනිත් schools අනිත් පාසල් ඇත්තටම ගොඩාක් වියදම් කරනවා මේකට. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ budgets සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මිලියන 25ක් 30ක් පනිනවා. but ඒකෙම අනිත් පැත්ත තමයි මම දකින්නේ මම මෙතන වැරදි වෙන්න පුළුවන් මේක මගේ පුද්ගලික මතය. මේ අපේ එහෙම මේ ප්‍රශ්න තියෙන නිසා තමයි ඇත්තටම ප්ලේයර්ස්ලා තව පොඩ්ඩක් උනන්දු වෙන්නේ කමක් නැහැ අපි මේ ප්‍රශ්න තියාගෙනත් අපි සෙල්ලම් කරනවා මේක අපේ චැලෙන්ජ් එකක් ඒ මෙන්ටැලිටි එක හදාගන්න. මොකද හැම පහසුකමක්ම හම්බ වෙන්නේ නැති වුණාට ඒගොල්ලන් පුරුදු වෙනවා මේ ප්‍රශ්න තියාගෙන කොහොම හරි මැච් එක ගහලා පාසල ඉතින් ඒක මගේ පුද්ගලික මතය මම කියන්නේ ඒක මේ හොඳ දෙයක් කියලා බට් ඒක මං හිතන්නේ අනිත් පැත්තට අපිට ඒක නෙමෙයි අපේ වීක්නස් එකක් වුණාට ඒක මං හිතන්නේ ස්ට්‍රෙන්ත් එකක් විදිහට අපිට ඒක ප්‍රයෝජනයට ගන්න පුළුවන් අවස්ථා තියෙනවා.
ඇත්තටම ලංකාවේ හොඳම පාසල් රග්බි කණ්ඩායමට ක්‍රීඩා ගන්න නැති කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම පොඩ්ඩක් දුකයි. ඒ මැදියට කියන්න පුළුවන් මේ වගේ චැලෙන්ජස් තියාගෙන ඒක මොටිවේෂන් එක කරගෙන මෙච්චර දුර ආපු එකත් it's an incredible story, I would say, Isham.
Yes, exactly.
And as someone you have been very close to Pathana Rugby for many years, name us few memorable moments of Isipathana Rugby.
Well, that's a bit of a tough question because I think there are so many memorable moments. So I mean, we won 12 leagues, 10 knockouts, 16 sevens. So I'll be doing injustice if I say those are not memorable moments for those captains, for those players. So before I start, I'll say this is my personal pick. I would say we won the Triple Crown 6 times. I think that's no school has come close to matching that record. So every occasion where we won the Triple Crown has been a memorable occasion for our school. The last was in 2014. I think another memorable moment would be the first time we won the Triple Crown in 1985 and in 1986. The first time we won the President's Trophy, we won that year as well. And also I would say beating Trinity for the first time in Kandy. That was in 1996. That would be a very historic occasion for Isipathana Rugby. And basically all those achievements on all those years, I mean, it would be fantastic. And like I mentioned, we were unbeaten from 1968 to 1971 for 4 years. It goes a bit unrecognized because there was no official league at that time. But I mean, all those I think for me can be considered as great achievements for Isipathana in its rugby history.
And one thing I wanted to ask from you was can you hear me, Sham?
Yeah, I can.
In a recent interview with Kishu Gomez took Isipathana as an example for a perfect sports setup. Did you follow that interview?
Yes.
Yeah. What's your take on it?
Well, I think he meant it in a very professional capacity, but I think he was taking Sri Lanka cricket as the example here, right? So I would agree in everything what he said. I mean, coming from a person who is not from Isipathana and a corporate giant, it meant a lot. I think it meant a lot for the school as well. But I mean, I agree with what he said. I mean, he just echoed the same things I said a few things earlier as well. I mean, the commitment of the boys and how they managed to produce champion teams. And he even acknowledged the fact there may be a year or two where they go down, but they come back up. I mean, that is because of the standards. The standards and the expectations are so high that the players who represent the team know that they have to reach or match that standard. If not, they are not going to be good enough when it comes to playing for Isipathana.
Thanks for that superb setup. My school was coached by a Pathanian, and he bought from the right bottom to the top of for the A division. He bought our school from right down. So within the span of 3 years, I would say. That was pretty amazing. And on behalf of all Zairians, I would like to thank Shamli Nawaz as well for all what he has done for Zaire Rugby. And next question, Hisham. Wherever Isipathana plays, there's a massive crowd, home or away game. Fans come in massive numbers for your games. That's definitely an advantage, I would say. So
well, that I think is sorry.
Take on the fan base.
Well, that I think is a massive advantage because I don't mean no disrespect to other schools, but I mean if you take the other schools, in most cases they are going to see a lot of fans from to support them when they play a traditional game or big match, so called, something like that. But in my case, I can vouch for it that Isipathana plays a C division team. I'm pretty sure it's going to bring a huge crowd because that's how passionate the followers are, and I mean that plays a huge factor of you could say driving the team towards success as well. I mean, when you play Isipathana Havelocks or Sierra FC, the atmosphere is different. It's almost, if you're not settled into the game as an opposition team, you've lost the first half, and when you lose the first half, you're almost done with the game there. So I think the fans play a huge part. Sometimes, I mean, they might get cross with me. They do go a bit overboard as well. Let me say that very frankly, but I mean that is all. It all comes with the passion. I mean, they're so passionate about the team, about the sport, about the school winning, and they follow the team even if it's in Kandy. I mean, there'll be massive numbers of fans just traveling to Kandy just to cheer the team, regardless of who Isipathana play, and that's a massive plus point for Isipathana Rugby.
And also, I think I was there at the knockout finals in 2016, where Kushan was the captain at the
Yeah.
racecourse, and that was a massive crowd. I think you all played Royal in that game. I went there with a few of my friends. That
Yeah.
crowd was simply amazing, I would say.
I mean, I think I remember that game, and I think the days leading up to the finals, the incidents that took place leading up to the finals played a huge part as well. I mean, it generated a huge crowd interest. I think the knockout final usually pull a huge crowd, but I think that I've never seen race course packed for a rugby game. I've seen football games and other games being packed, but for a rugby game, I think that's the highest crowd generated there in that round. I think, and Isipathana went on to win that game by a massive score that played a huge part as well. So yeah, that was a very historic occasion for Isipathana as well on that day, 2016.
Talking about happy days, let's get into every sporting team will have a bad day as well. Talk about some heartbreaking days you had as an Isipathana Rugby fan.
Well, there have been a few. It's not that they haven't been. I think seeing ourselves being demoted to the B division was, I think, very heartbreaking. I mean, I remember I was starting to follow Isipathana Rugby. This was during 2005, and I mean it was just awful to watch because every game Isipathana would be losing by 3 to 4 to 5 points, so close, struggling, and to make worse, opposition team, even every team with Isipathana played knew that they had a chance of beating Isipathana on this day, and they had their crowd going. The atmosphere was against Isipathana for a change, and Isipathana just couldn't deliver. And even the following year, the final game where Isipathana had to win to promote themselves back into the division, Isipathana lost for the first time against Thurston, and that was a really difficult one to take as well. And if you take the recent past, Isipathana struggled in 2018, but for me, I mean, I think I should add the other one was in 2011. The reason I should say so was in 2011 there was a lot of expectations on every Isipathana, and that Isipathana is finally. I mean, Isipathana hadn't won the league for like 10 years by that time, and Isipathana were led by Devinder Prasad, and they had an absolute fantastic team all round, and everyone had so much hopes on this team. But unfortunately, Isipathana missed out on the league by 1 point. Royal were led by Arshad Jamaldeen. And actually, no, I don't think many give Royal a chance, but Shehan Lema and Arshad Jamaldeen drove that team to victory. And then when it came to the knockouts, Isipathana still had a chance to redeem themselves, and they had a bit of team selection issues. One of their players met with an accident, a key player, and that really just before the finals, a few days before the finals, and that just disheartened the team, and we ended up losing the knockout final for Trinity as well. And just because there was so much expectation on that team, that was a really difficult one to take.
Yeah, as sporting fans, it's a good lesson for all of us. You stick with your team through good and bad, and eventually it will come good one day. So that's a message for all our sporting fans in Sri Lanka as well. So my last question is regarding rugby in general, Hisham. How do you see the school's rugby season kicking post-COVID in Sri Lanka now? You think that the next season will pull off in 2022 at least?
Well, I don't see schools rugby starting this season. I really don't see things happening because for schools rugby to start, I think club rugby should have any kind of hope. So at the moment, I don't see club rugby happening. So that means I don't see how school rugby can, take two steps forward. And because at the situation where the country is at the moment and how things have been handled, I don't see, because I think education comes first, and even now we are struggling to get our education going on for the children. So without education, I don't think how authorities would allow rugby to happen. If we are to start the sport again in 2022, I think the vaccination program would have to be successful and be completed for the age gap between at least 20 to 30 as well. And then again, look into the possibilities of how we can keep the players or the students secure from this situation of the virus. And then I think it'll be different as well. I mean, players have not followed the sport now for like 2 years. So how their parents would allow them to actually take up sport in general, not just rugby? Will they send their kids for practices? And then how people will they be interested, because this COVID situation has impacted everyone and everything. I mean, financial institutions as well. So sponsors, will they be willing to come forward and sponsor? Will the old boys have the ability, the financial strength to support the school like they did before? So all these would come into play. But if it happens, it should be in 2022, because I really don't see how it's going to happen this year.
Yeah, let's hope there'll be some rugby action as well, as most of the sports are about to restart now. So we'll hope that rugby also will start, and there's a lot of cost factor will be involved as well with bubble concept. So we'll hope that rugby will kick off soon. And Hisham, before thanking you, I want to just keep the topic and with to our fans. I think you are also an international football fan, so it will be useful for you as well. And Sri Lanka will be playing the South Asian Championship football next month, and they left the country yesterday to Saudi Arabia for a 10-day camp, and they'll be in Saudi Arabia for 10 days, and they'll be playing the first game in Maldives versus Bangladesh. That will be starting in Sri Lanka time around 4 p.m. I would say. We'll confirm you the timings. So just like we support all the other sports in the country, let's get behind our football team. They have gave us some hope during the World Cup qualifiers. So we'll hope that they will come good, and after 1995, Sri Lanka can get some football glory after 27 years. That is South Asian Championship, which will be a very good restart for Sri Lanka football. And wishes for
Yeah,
our boys.
we should say that I did have a chat, because after seeing a post by the coach, I just did have a small chat with him. I think they had a very turbulent flight traveling to Saudi. I think they had a lot of turbulence, and even some of the windows of the plane had cracked, and thank God they're safe. So yeah, good luck to them as well.
Yeah, and thank you, Hisham. Thanks for accepting my invite on this to come for the chat with us to talk about your school. And indeed, I'm a big fan of Isipathana Rugby as well. So it was good to know some insights about Isipathana Rugby and how Isipathana Rugby has evolved for all these days. Thanks, Hisham, again.
Thanks a lot for having me, Akil. It's been a pleasure. So see you soon. Take care.
Yeah, see you soon. Thanks, Hisham. Good night and stay safe, everyone.